Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl So by Babel. As usual, I found a tutorial that I would like to try out with you guys. So I'm making a twist knotted skirt in today's tutorial. So we'll first dive into making a front pattern, which will be used to cut the front piece, and also the same pattern will be used to create the twisted knot at the front of the skirt. So I went ahead to mark the starting point, which also serves as the waistline, as well as marking that span, which is also the bust span, which is 9 divided by 2 as 4.5. I marked it like this, and I'm also using the hip length of 11 inches. After marking that, I subtracted 1 inch from the front pattern because the front hip size is different from the back hip side. Of course, the back side is bigger and wider than the front. So I went straight into marking the knee measurement, and in the knee measurement I subtracted 1.5 inch from the hip measurement that I had already. And remember, I had already subtracted 1 inch from the hip measurement, and that 1 inch will be added back to the back piece of this skirt. So I just connected all of these lines like this, and just went ahead to cut this out and just place this separately. But before I do that, I would go up by 1 inch just to give the waist side a little bit of a curve, because our waist, of course, is not flat, it's not straight, it's a bit curvy. So I went up by 1 inch just to give the waist side a bit of a curvy effect, just like you see. So I opened this pattern and marked the measurement I have on the other side, because we are opening this pattern for a slash and spread method. So this is the fabric I'll be using. It's a plain crepe material. So I went ahead to pin my pattern paper on my fabric. It's on fold because there's a front pattern, so it's on fold. I pinned it all through and just went ahead to cut it out. And before I did that, I added 1.5 seam allowance. I'm adding 1.5 seam allowance all round because I want this piece to have enough allowance. You can add 2 or less, as much as you want or as little as you want. So after marking this out, I would go straight into cutting this piece out. So we'll move to the next step, and please note that you can use any fabric of your choice. You can use Ankara or any fabric of your choice. So I went ahead to cut this out like so and just trim every unnecessary excess. So this is the back piece. I folded it in 2, and I won't be using any pattern to cut out this back piece. I will just be cutting this out, and this back piece I will be using the bolt contouring method to cut out this back piece. So I went ahead to mark my waistline and my hip length as well. My hip length is 11, but I don't want to have a very sharp edge, so I went 1 inch above and 1 inch below the hip length, just like you see, because I don't want to have a very sharp edge. So I also marked out the knee length, which is 26 from the waist measurement. I added 2 inches to the seam, to the hemming. That's my seam allowance for the hem part of this skirt. So I went ahead to mark 8 inches from the hip length. That would be where my bolt contouring will be taking place. The whole contouring will take place just at this place. So you can, if you have a shorter skirt, you can use 6 inches or less, but I think 6 inches, but I'm using 8 inches for this because the skirt is a little bit above the knee. So at this point I went out to mark my middle measurements. Yes, that's my center front measurement. That's my center front. So I just marked it like so. And please, when you're folding your fabric, please always ensure that you fold your fabric and such that you have excess, that you don't fold the fabric to get your exact measurement. Always fold your fabric so you have excess if you are using this bolt contouring method. So after doing that, I just went ahead to start marking my measurement from the center front line that I just made. So I marked my measurement. I'm using the hip measurement of 45, so I divided that by 4, of course, and then subtract or added 1 inches, and we're adding 1 inches directly like you see. So at this knee point, I went at the side seam, I went in by 1 inch. At the front pattern I went in by 1.5 inch, but here I'll be going at the side seam, I'll be going in by 1 inch, and on the other side, which is the center front, I'll be going in by 1/2 inch because I want to split that allowance I added. So I would have this pencil effect both at the front, at the center back, and also at the side. So I went ahead to connect these just like you see. I connected these, and now I'm going to start with my bolt contouring. So after the measurement, I went out on the hip length measurement by 1 inches, and I just connected it like so, just like that. It's very simple. And now I'm going straight into the twisted knot pattern. So I made all these lines so it will be easy for you to understand. So I'm starting my twist at the that leg, just like you see. I just made a point straight down at that leg, and I will just connected it down to the middle line, just like you see. And note that you can make this as wide as you want or as small as you want. So I initially made the upper side of the smaller twist to be small, but I increased it because I wanted it to be a bit wide, just like you see. So I just increased it just a little bit, so you do this for both sides, like that's the upper side of your hip and the lower side that's beneath the hip length. So after doing this on the other side, I make this straight line, connecting it straight to the waist measurement, like the waistline, just like you see. So I went ahead to cut out the excess, that's the parts that we don't really need in this tutorial. So I went ahead to cut this out, and just you have to be careful so you won't mess up your pattern paper. So I cut this out carefully. I'm cutting out the part that is not needed, that's above the pattern and below the pattern. So this part I'm cutting out, we don't really need it. We don't really need it at all. So after cutting out this pattern, I'll go straight into marking out the parts that will be slashing out. So just like you see, I labeled the hip line so I won't get confused. So that's the hip line, and I will divide the first segment into 3. I'll divide the first segment into 3, just like you see. I'm dividing the first segment into 2 rather. Yes, the first segment, that's the upper side of the hip, I'm dividing it into 2, and the lower side into 2. So I went ahead to label this. In 4. Then the other side also, I went ahead to divide it into 2 and divide the lower part of the hip into 2. I also label this and also label this as the side seam, so I won't get confused when using this pattern on my fabric. So I label this side, so I'll know that is the side seam. Also, the cutting has to be technical, because you don't want to mess up your pattern. So from the center, from the hip line, I'll be cutting it out from the side seam, but every other line will be cutting it out from the middle point. So after detaching the two piece, I open it out like this. From the hip line, I open it out like this and went ahead to separate the other lines from the middle. Notice it's from the middle. So I'll take a little bit of your time. If you've not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, like, leave a comment, and also share. Thank you very much. Let's go straight back into our tutorial. And on the other side, I'll be opening it from the middle point. Note from the middle point, from the meeting point, and it's going to look just like this. It's going to look just like this. So I'll get an extra pattern paper and I will underlay it and tape this down. And the distance of your spreading can be measured, and it should be measured. I want to use the distance of 5 inches. So I got a bigger pattern paper and just spread this on it, and I taped it down. I measured 5 inches. You can use a wider measurement if you want to use 6 inches or 7, but in this tutorial I'll be using 5. And note that the extent at which you spread your pattern determines the fullness of the pleated side of this twisted knot. So I went ahead to tape down all of this, my pattern paper. I taped it down, and after doing that I taped down the sides as well, because I want everything to be in place, and because would also be, after taping it down, would also be cutting it, and we don't want any fray at all. So I went ahead to cut this out. And yes, so I was trying to show how it's going to go back. It's going to go in, it's numbered 1, 2, and 3. So after taping it down and after cutting it on your fabric, you will be able to return back the hip line back to where it is. So it's going to go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, but it still look, you might not really understand this now. That's the more reason why you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'll be posting the second part of this video. I'll be posting the second part, which is the part where I'll be sewing all of this piece together and showing you the exact outcome and what it looks like. So subscribe and turn on your notification bell, so as soon as I upload the video, you'll be the first person to get notified. So subscribe, like, and comment in the comment section, and of course I'll be dropping the description link to some other pattern making tutorials. So this is how I'm cutting it out. You cut out the unnecessary part. Note that it's just the middle that we need. It's just the middle part that we need. So after cutting on your fabric, you can return it back and get your plate on the side. So I'll be repeating the same thing I did on this other side. For the hip line, I'll cut it from the seam side, from the same measurement, or from the same line rather, and open it out like this. You open it out like this, but don't cut it through, so that it's going to still be in place. So after doing like this, I'm going to cut from that middle, I'm going to cut other lines from that middle. See this, that's why I said you need to mark it, and may probably put an arrow indicating the direction of your scissors. I almost made a mistake, but that's the essence of labeling your pattern paper even before cutting. So even when you're about making mistake, the labels can put you through and you are good to go. So this other piece, I'll be using 4 inches for the wideness of my spread, and I think you can also call this a slash and spread method. Yes, I think this is a slash and spread method. Yeah, it's also a slash and spread method. The slash and spread method. So in this pattern making or pattern drafting tutorial, we are using a slash and spread method. So I went ahead to tape this down. After taping this down, I will just cut it just like I did the other piece. Just went ahead to cut these down, and we are ready to cut our pattern. So I went ahead to cut this pattern, and note I did not add any allowance, so I didn't add any allowance to this. The only allowance I added to the pattern was the dart intake allowance. That was the only allowance. I didn't add the sewing allowance to the pattern paper. All the allowance I added was on the fabric. I didn't add any allowance. So when cutting when using this slash and spread pattern on my fabric, I would have to add my allowance. So now I'm going to go ahead to add 1.5 inch allowance all round. I'll be using 1.5 inch allowance all round. I went ahead to tape to pin this down first. Pin this down all round, and it's a very big and wide pattern paper, but then we are getting there. So I went ahead to pin all of this, and after pinning this, I went ahead to add 1.5 inches to every side of this pattern. So after cutting out your fabric, you will notice that you can flip back your piece, the other side of this piece, and please note the middle point. You would not notch the middle point so that you would know where you are folding back. Notch the middle point. There is a middle point there, and I'm going to mark it out just at that point. That's the middle point. So you mark out the middle point so you would not get confused on where to flip your material backwards. Yeah, this is one of the easiest way to make a twisted knot skirt. This is one of the easiest way to make a twisted knot skirt. Of course, if you don't want to waste so much of your fabric, you have to use a pattern. You have to use a pattern to do it, and it saves cost. And I don't know about time. It doesn't save time. No, it doesn't. But then you get the result, you get what you want, and you can always use this pattern over and over again. So that's the juicy part of this drafting pattern making tutorial or pattern drafting tutorial. So if you are still watching, thank you very much for sticking with us up till this moment. I'm very much grateful that you're watching this video despite the length of the video. Thank you very much. You're so special. Thank you. So I went ahead to cut this out. And that's all you need. Like, that's all. And after cutting out your pattern, we'll go straight into sewing it. So I did the same thing for the other piece of the knot. I did the same thing. I added 1-inch allowance, 1.5-inch allowance, and you won't be sewing every part. Just stick to the channel. Just make sure you've subscribed so you can see how to sew this and what it looks like. Trust me, it's going to blow your mind. So I went ahead to cut this out, and that will be all for the drafting and cutting of our material. So you can see I notched that middle point so I would know where to flip this material back. So just stick to us and subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you get the rest part of the video. Thank you so much for watching.